What's up, amigos? Here's our 4th episode of our theory crafting series for our druids. Today we have our Poison Claw druid build. If you haven't already seen our other druid build guides, definitely go check those out. If this one isn't for you, maybe one of the other ones are. I'll actually be testing one of the builds today, our Earthbender build, live on kick.com/fluffyamigo when the servers come up. So, for our basic skill here, we are going to go into Claw. Claw is nothing special. We shapeshift into a werewolf and claw at the enemy for 21% damage. We're going to go 1 point here, 1 point to Enhance Claw, which grants the claw attack speed by 10%. And then we're going to go into Fierce Claw. Fierce Claw applies a percentage poison damage over 3 seconds. So, going over into our core skills. For our core ability of the build, we are going to go 5 points into Shred. Now, Shred is pretty unique. When you pop Shred, you shapeshift into a werewolf, of course, and perform a trio of combo attacks. First attack, second attack deal so-and-so amount of damage. The third attack performs a larger finishing move, dealing a percentage of damage. Obviously, as I read this, it must deal a big, portion of damage. A considerable more amount than our first and second attack. It would only make sense. So we go into Enhanced Shred. Enhanced Shred grants us attack speed and heals us for 2% of our maximum life if the enemy is struck with Shred. Then we're going to go into Raging Shred. Raging Shred's third combo attack is larger and applies an additional percentage of poison damage over X amount of time. So the thing that I really hope Shred is like, I really think that it would be great if it acted as a rend, like the Barbarian Rend. We don't know if this is a straight single target or if it's AoE attack. Part of me wants to believe that it's an AoE attack because of how it reads. A third combo attack is larger and applies an additional poison damage over X amount of time. I don't know why they would say is larger, if they're describing that as a radius or if they're describing that as a more powerful attack. It would just be weird if they word it the way that they do here, if they just mean a more powerful attack. So I'm hoping it acts like Rend. If it doesn't, then that's fine. We have a lot more opportunities just to apply poison in the build and AoE for clear. If it's just straight single target, then it's really good for bossing. So it's kind of like a win-win. Alright, moving on to our defensives. So, if you've seen my other videos or read the guides, then you know druids, I think, have the best defensive skills. If you haven't, don't forget to check out those builds after this. So Cyclone Armor, this is a passive 20% non-physical damage reduction. 2 things to note here is passive, and the key phrase non-physical, meaning elemental damage reduction. It also has an active effect that knocks enemies back. So we're going to take 1 point into here. We're going to take 1 point into Enhanced Cyclone Armor, which just adds a 40% slow for 3 seconds when we when we use our Cyclone Armor for the knockback. The real deal modifier here is Preserving Cyclone Armor. When we're in combat taking incoming damage, every 10 seconds we get an additional 40% combat reduction buff. This is a global damage reduction, so anything and all. Since this is a melee build, this is incredibly powerful for us, and to pair up with our Cyclone Armor, we take Blood Howl. So Blood Howl, we shapeshift into a werewolf, and we heal 20% of our missing health. Now, Enhanced Blood Howl is really great because it reduces the cooldown of Blood Howl by 1 second per kill. Now, unlike Grizzly Rage, which I will show you here, Grizzly Rage has a cap on that. Kills extend the duration by 1 second up to 10 additional seconds. That does not state in Enhanced Blood Howl. So when we're going about killing massive amounts of enemies, we can pop Blood Howl, kill 15 enemies because it's a 15-second cooldown, and it'll be off cooldown immediately. So, pretty cool. Now, there is a chance that it's a hidden flavor text and that it is a soft cap of some sort, but As is, I read that as something that does not have a cap. So that can be up pretty much indefinitely when we're AoE farming and open world farming. So from here, we're going to go into Preserve and Bloodhowl. Every time we proc Bloodhowl, which again, when we're open world farming, we are constantly going to have this up. We'll have a nice uptime for this Preserve and Bloodhowl, which increases our attack speed by 15% for 4 seconds. We don't take any companions for this build. Now we're going to go into our Wrath skills. So, Wrath skills is we're going to take 2 points in the Rabies. Rabies is when biting the target, you apply a poison dot. The cool thing about Rabies is the disease we inflict actually spreads to other targets. So here's what I was talking about earlier about having some sort of AoE clear potential. Enhanced Rabies also increases the duration of that disease, dealing 4% extra bonus damage at max duration. And then we're going to take between 2 different scenarios. We have our clear, if we want to just do open world farming, AoEing. If we're just clearing a dungeon, also, we want natural Rabies to spread it faster. Now, we also have an alternative for bossing, Savage Rabies. Savage Rabies deals its total poison damage in X amount of time instead of X. So it's just faster. It'll damage faster. We won't have to wait, 9 seconds if it's a 9-second poison. It'll just tick faster. So in this tree, we also are going for Neurotoxin, which this is just a prereq. We don't really care about the poison, slowing enemies. What we care about is the next skill, Toxic Claws. Crit Strike with Werewolf skills deal 8% of their base damage as more poison damage over 4 seconds. So as you can see, between all of our skills, we are just stacking poison after poison after poison. And just like if you played the Barbarian Ren build, the more you Ren, the more you bleed, the more damage they're taking, the faster they're taking the damage. It's multiplicative, basically. Now, we have a couple options here for our ultimate. Normally, we would only put 1 point in our ultimate. We would put 1 point in the Lacerate, but you do have an option here. You can actually put 2 points in the Lacerate, 1 in the Lacerate, and 1 in the Prime Lacerate. Lacerate, I gotta be honest, it just seems like a cool ability. I think it has huge potential for single target and potentially AoE clear, but for the most part, you won't be needing this if the build works out for killing elites and stuff, but you can still use it. It bounces, or dashes rather, 10 times between enemies in an area, dealing up to 420% damage. So hopefully this works as I want it to work in bosses, and that it just doesn't dash once. If it does work, you'll dash and hit your full 420% damage on a boss. But what scares me a bit about this is that it says up to. Another cool thing about Lacerate is that you actually become immune to damage, so I mean, who doesn't like being immune when you're casting a skill? Prime Lacerate, if you do opt to go and remove 1 point from Toxic, Prime Lacerate deals a critical strike, healing for 3%, or each time it deals a critical strike, it heals you for 3% max life, which is also really nice for bossing. So, as an overview, we pretty much the main thing about this is we go up to a target, we apply as many poison procs as we can. We have a proc with our claw, we have a proc with our shred. We have rabies to help clear for AoE. Hopefully our shred acts as an AoE as well. If not, oh well, it's great for single target. We have Bloodhowl that we can upkeep when we're AoE farming. We'll always have 15% increased attack speed. We have our Cyclone armor for knockbacks. And our Lacerate when we want to just dash around and do something crazy. So that's it for our Poison Claw Druid build. If you haven't already seen our Druid builds, definitely go check that out. If this one isn't for you, maybe one of the other ones are, like I said earlier. If you do enjoy this kind of content and you enjoy the videos, go ahead and drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more content. If you have any suggestions or things to add, feel free to comment down below, and enjoy your open beta weekend. On screen, I will also add our leveling process and a couple, offensive and defensive affixes to look for on gear. Again, this is all what I think will scale well. And for the leveling process, it's what I would do. You don't have to follow it. You can do whatever you want to do. So until next time, enjoy your weekend.